be interviewing a Placer County nurse on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Followed by CSUF's recent announcement of a virtual commencement ceremony.
And finally, we're committed to bringing you the news, views, and info to go on this episode of the Report Roundtable Discussion. I'm Bree Eastlick.
I'm Jefferson Denham.
And I'm Ryan Matthey, and as you can see, we're continuing to practice social distancing as we have done for the later half of our semester. Although we cannot be together in person, we do invite you all to continue to be a part of the discussion. Follow us on Twitter at The Report CSUF or on our Titan TV Instagram at Titan TV CSUF to keep in touch and view our content.
Now let's begin today's episode with a woman I've known my entire life. She's a urology nurse from Placer County in Roseville, California, and she's currently in the fight against the spread of COVID-19. Now, here is an inside perspective of what nurses are saying during the pandemic. Here we are introducing my mom, Roxanne Eastlick. Now, Mom, I've actually gotten a lot of insight from you the last few weeks. We've been talking to you a lot, and I've literally said your name so many times on the show, it's absolutely crazy. What I want everyone to know is that you are a urology nurse. You aren't in the ER, you have your own office, you aren't in the same building as the ER, and you're at the hospital that had the very first case of COVID-19 in California. But what I want to talk about is, how has this affected you? How has it affected your everyday work? What was it like before all this started, and how is it now? What difference do you see?
We're approximately seeing 85 to 90% of the amount of patients that we've seen pre-COVID-19. So we're still staying very busy, but a good majority of our patients are considered critical. They have to be seen regularly. So it's when the governor put the limit on what we could do or not do in the hospitals and medical clinics, it really didn't affect, from my perspective of seeing patients, how many I had to see. Our doctors are seeing probably about 20% of the amount of patients that they've seen before. So it affected them quite a bit. They still are doing cases in the OR because we still have cancer patients. We still have patients that have kidney stones that have to be removed. So those things still continued through all of this. But for me, I'm still seeing about 90% of my patients. So it really hasn't affected my day-to-day so much.
So then, but you are working alongside these doctors. You are in the same physical facility as them. And so for these doctors who are in contact with these patients who have confirmed with COVID-19, and you even said 50% of them are critical and they need to be seen. So for these critical patients, what are we seeing from them and what are they experiencing?
So our doctors actually have taken care of some COVID patients. There was a few that they had to do surgeries on that there just is no option, has to be done. And so it was worrisome. One of our doctors that had to do it is pregnant. So for her, she was very worried about having to go into the operating room and perform surgery on that patient. But it's kind of what we signed up to do. So that's what we have to do. And they actually tested her and she came back negative and everything was fine, but just as precautionary since she was pregnant. But yeah, we still have to see them. And we did have the first case in California. We've had quite a few. We've had, I think they said, around 32 cases we've taken care of just in my hospital alone. So we actually had one of the longest patients. He was in there for, I think it was over 40 days. He was just released last week. They had a big, huge send-off. All the employees came outside when the ambulance picked him up, and we cheered and clapped and made a big deal. His family recorded it and put it on social media and really appreciated all the stuff that the hospital did for him and was able to get him out.
Beautiful. Well, can I just say, Roxanne, first of all, thanks again for being with us. We applaud you. We applaud all the workers that are doing yay that you applauded the patient, but now we're applauding you and everyone who's on the front line doing what you're doing. I am really curious because you obviously see everything up close and personal. What would you personally like people to understand regarding COVID-19, especially with misinformation floating around?
Really, it's washing your hands. It's so important, especially when you come in from being out and about in the public, because everything we touch has germs on it. So really washing your hands, wiping down your surfaces, keeping your house clean. That's really the best thing you can do. Obviously, if you're comfortable wearing a mask in public, that can help. That actually helps with the spread more than it helps picking it up. But if people wear it, it helps keep, because a lot of times the thing is people don't know they have it. You don't know you have it. You can have it for 7 to 14 days before you really know you have it. So, I hear people say, oh, I'm not wearing a mask, blah, blah, but you're actually protecting other people as well when you wear a mask, not just yourself.
Definitely. And one thing that we kind of talked about, I think it was last week or the week before, was the shortage of nurses that's going to be happening. I talked to you a little bit about it beforehand, and we were kind of talking about the schooling that a lot of people can't get through their clinicals and everything. So you've been through it, you know what to expect and what they have to go through. What do you have any recommendations, or what do you think is going to happen with the shortage of nurses that are going to be happening in the future?
So with all of the baby boomers getting ready to retire, they already knew that there was going to be a shortage of nurses. Unfortunately, COVID has created an even bigger gap, I'll say. I know some of the schools around here, one of the community colleges today just said that all of their nursing students in the first, second, and third semesters of nursing school will have to redo this whole semester. It's not going to count because they didn't get enough clinical hours. And it's not the school's choice. It's the state of California, just like every other state, has requirements. In order to get through each semester of nursing school, you have to have so many hours of clinical practice as well as the class. So they were able to get their class done, but they couldn't get those clinical hours that are, required. So they have to redo the whole semester. So that puts out, a whole semester of nursing school students. So all those students that were going to start in the fall are now, they don't even get to start until the spring. They have to have these required hours, and none of the hospitals are taking students right now. They just, it's just too much of a liability to bring the students in when you don't know any patient on any floor, even though patients test negative for it, a couple of days later, you retest them and they're positive. You just can't run that risk with these students, bringing them in until they feel like it's safe enough to do so. So it'll push a whole graduating class back.
It really has. This outbreak has affected everybody, regardless of student, old, young. Everybody's affected by this. And I think that's what's so different about other outbreaks in the past is we're so unprepared for this as well. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom announced yesterday that we're going to start reopening parts of California on Friday, where there are certain retail businesses that are able to reopen for curbside pickup only. But even then, it's still not adhering to the stay-at-home orders and the quarantining that we've been doing for so many weeks. And so as a nurse, do you expect anything? Are you anticipating anything to happen from this reopening?
I think we'll see the numbers spike a little bit. I don't think that will turn into what New York had per se. I think though we'll see, the numbers here in Placer County have stayed, other than one day in the last 2 weeks, it stayed very level, 1 case, 2 cases a day, that kind of thing. We did have a day where there were 9 in one day, which was just a couple of days ago. But I do think that we'll see some small spikes here and there. But I did hear today that the governor did grant, I know some cities here where I'm at had requested that they get to make their own choices as far as how much or how little they want to open, and he did grant that. And I know the town one over from us today has already taken all the tape off of their parks and everything and opened all their parks up and kind of are going to stage, I think, 3 almost right away. And I think that's probably not the best idea. I think if we're going to do this, we need to do it in stages and be very careful with slowly opening things back up to just that way. Because I think what people forget, and me included, sometimes, as a non-nurse, when you're out in public, you want to get back to normal life. I want to go out and eat at a restaurant. I want to go to the movies and do these things. But from a healthcare perspective, a spike like what New York had, I don't think that California could handle that. We don't have enough hospitals and nurses and doctors to accommodate what they've gone through there. And that's what we want to avoid.
It seems like, yes, we're very optimistic. We hope for the best when we slowly open things up. But would you say, given that there's still uncertainty, there's still a possibility of a spike, as you said, Mike Pence announced that he's considering phasing out the coronavirus task force. Is that a good idea at this stage?
from my perspective and the healthcare, I would say no, we don't know enough about it. I don't think there's enough information. And I actually read an article today that said that they think that it's already starting to mutate. So all of that work that they're doing on, vaccines and all these other great things, as we know, like with the flu vaccine, it's not 100%. Yeah, it works for certain strains of it, but with any vaccine, that's kind of what you're getting, and if it's already starting to mutate into other forms, people who've already had it could possibly get it again.
Alrighty, and for the people who are really protesting and saying, let's open everything back up, like it'll be okay, what would you say to those people who want everything to open back up?
I understand and I get it. People need, to have an income and people want to get back to normal, but I think we have to be very, very cautious of how we do that. If we were to just go, okay, on Monday, everything opens back up as normal, I feel like we did all of this for nothing. We might as well have just never done it. It kind of, there's still people that are getting it every day. And there's still people that if you allowed would go out and contaminate everybody else. And, you see that with people licking things at stores and like purposely trying to give people things. And, we need to just be very cautious about how we go about opening things back up. And, I get it, but we kind of have to not think for our personal, but for the good of all.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we have for the time. Thank you so much, Mom, and we really appreciate everything that you do and for coming on here today to talk to us about everything that's going on.
Thank you, guys.
So we've been discussing what COVID-19 looks like from the front lines. What then can reopening the economy look like and when? So after weeks of stay-at-home orders and the public protests against them, California will begin to slowly reopen this week. California Governor Gavin Newsom announced during his daily coronavirus update on Monday that certain retail businesses can reopen as early as the end of this week for curbside pickup only. Businesses including clothing stores, music stores, florists, bookstores, and sporting goods retailers are allowed to resume business under modified guidelines. Newsom said more detailed guidelines for retail reopenings will be released on Thursday. So I want to just say again, kudos to Gavin Newsom for his leadership, as well as to Dr. Angel, if you saw the briefing from yesterday, who also spoke at the briefing, letting us know that these initial steps to reopen is largely due to you, me, all of us adhering to the stay-at-home orders. Yay, us. I'm especially pleased that the governor is utilizing data to inform his decision-making and not a bunch of ridiculous people armed with machine guns storming the Capitol. You know what I mean? I also appreciate that certain standards should be met. If regional governments want to try on an accelerated schedule, the governor said, okay, so let's say City of Irvine, if you want to go to phase 3 quicker, here are some guidelines that you must meet to get there. I think that's a good thing. Also, it seems like, let's just say, testing seems to be the only way to really open things up in an intelligent way. Even with the economy reopening, we are still months, if not years, away from any kind of broad reopening, I would say. And secondly, since we've all been conditioned, even more than before, to utilize online shopping, I'm not sure retail stores will be able to make a big comeback. What do you guys think?
I kind of want to piggyback off of what you were talking about with the containment plans as what Gavin Newsom was kind of introducing. But I think that I understand why people want everything to reopen, and I get it. But at the same time, if one county is opening more than the other and they're going into the second phase, won't people from other counties that aren't opening to the second phase go over to these other counties and then bring them back to their county? And they might not have the tests, the beds. They might not have the necessities to hold all these people who might end up getting it, bringing it from these counties. So I think that I understand why people want their county to open, but at the same time, I almost feel like we all need to go at the same pace. Otherwise, it's just going to fluctuate and everything is just going to go bad. But I don't know. I don't know if retail and florists are really needed right now. They aren't, they aren't the essentials, but I get it. businesses need to open up because otherwise they're going to shut down and go bankrupt.
That is the flip side to this conversation, is that while florists may not be an essential work, it is essential for these people who are florists, who own flower shops. That's their whole livelihood, and they are apparently, from these protests, not getting the amount of aid from the government financially that they would need to survive, to feed their family, to keep with their bills. So I understand both sides of the story, and it is tough. The data is showing that we are in a position that we can do this, but baby steps. We're not, like you were saying, Bree, just throwing everybody out there. Everybody can just crisscross counties and then, kind of cross-pollination with the spread of this. That's not what the intention is. The intention is so that these people who have been struggling financially are able to continue money making in some way without, though, spreading it in an unsafe manner. And so, again, this has still not happened yet. We'll see what happens after Friday, but we hope it's not bad. We hope it's all good. Well, let's switch now to some campus news, talking about the 2020 virtual commencement ceremony for Cal State Fullerton. They did announce this commencement for the graduating class of 2020. It's not replacing any in-person commencement, however. That is still in development. The virtual ceremony is set to take place sometime in June, and it will involve social media activities as well as a virtual yearbook. The official launch date will be announced in a few weeks. Speaking as a student who had the plans to walk across that commencement stage and get that load of attention that I would have gotten in a physical commencement ceremony, this is really the best that the university can do. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying it in a very positive way. The key point in this, however, is that it's not taking place of the physical commencement ceremony. That is still going to be happening in the future. And I think this is actually very common, where if you heard how the Obamas are actually holding a virtual commencement ceremony later on in May for graduating high school seniors. And then YouTube actually has an original called Dear Class of 2020, which will be celebrating all graduating seniors with the Obamas, as well as Lady Gaga, BTS, Alicia Keys, Zendaya, all the people I wish could show up to my commencement ceremony. So speaking, how about you, Jefferson? What are your thoughts on having this virtual commencement?
Well, I just want to piggyback on what you said, Ryan. I happen to think that Cal State Fullerton has been wonderful, and they want to try to honor you as best they can. So, until we can have gatherings, huge gatherings again, I applaud any creative effort to honor this year's graduating class. Number two, I wanted to say on each student's page, this is just a thought I had. I would love to learn what, number one, the student has learned about finishing college in these circumstances, and secondly, how they might take that lesson and pay it forward. I think Cal State Fullerton is really good at being aware of social justice, for example. So it might be really interesting to see what students might have to say in that regard. And then Ryan, something that you mentioned earlier, the contact tracing staffers. Hey, any Titans looking for a job right out of college? I hear they're hiring. What do you think, Bree?
I honestly think that it's really great. I really agree with you guys. I think, this is definitely the best thing that they can do at the moment. If they wait to do an in-person ceremony, most people are going to be starting their new jobs and they're going to be getting into life. So who knows, they might not be able to make it back for an in-person ceremony. So I think the virtual one is better for those people who aren't going to be able to make it back for the in-person one. It's better than having nothing. So I definitely think that CSUF has done the right thing in the end. And I think they're really showing how much that they love the class. So I think it's really great. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today on our last episode of the year of the Report Roundtable Discussion. We hope everyone has a safe week and stay tuned for more news, views, and info. I'm Bree Eastlick. I'd like to say thank you to you two. You guys, you've made this one of the best, most fun, enthusiastic shows I've ever been a part of. And thank you to Kelly, who is our writer, producer, and everyone behind the scenes who has helped edit and do graphics for the show. Thank you guys so much. It has been such an honor being beside you guys.
I'm Jefferson Denham, and what Bree said, really, Bree, Ryan, Kelly, our director producer, everybody on the show, but everybody at Cal State Fullerton. It has been an honor to be on campus, and we really do, I hope it comes across, we really do think of all of you when we put all this together Thank you so much for watching.
And finally, I'm Ryan Matthey, finishing off my 4 seasons here at The Report. Before I go, besides thanking my 2 lovely anchors and all the anchors I've had in the past, we have to thank our fearless executive producer, Kelly Hoffman, for keeping the show on the rails throughout quarantine, the staff at Titan TV when we were recording in the studio, and as well as the audience. Thank you for giving us a reason to make this show happen. Well, on that note, Fullerton, stay fresh and stay safe.